A YouTube viewer asked me about bridles. What kind of bridles are there? What kind do you use? Why do you use them? And so on. Good question. This kite right here was made in India. It has no bridle. It's brand new and it has no bridle. You can't fly this kite. You buy this kite, you cannot fly it until you put a bridle on it. Now, a North American fighter kite would not be sold without a bridle. In India and in most cultures that fly with glass-coated flying line, with cutting line, this is how it is. This is how they know this is a new kite. It's a new kite because it does not have a bridle. If it had a bridle, they would know it was a used kite and wouldn't want that. So what kind of bridle do they use? They use a two-point bridle. A bridle that connects to the kite in two places. One right here at the point where the bow and the spine meet. They tie one line there, and the other end of the line they tie about 2/3 of the way from the nose towards the tail. And that bridle is attached here, and let's say here, and it extends out about to here. And they attach it to their flying line. Now this is a good bridle arrangement, no question about it, very simple. However, if the kite they're flying, once they've got it in the air and they're flying it and it's veering to one direction all the time, they have very little control over adjusting for that. They can't really get the kite to fly straight. They can move the knot of the bridle a little bit to the right or left to help compensate, yes. They can even manipulate the bamboo on one side or another of the bow to change the flexibility of the bamboo slightly, and that may also help, not always, but sometimes. But fortunately for them, that isn't a big deal. The kite itself, when they're flying with manja, which is just cotton thread coated with a paste mixed with ground up glass, when they're flying with manja, their intent and their purpose is to cut the flying line of anybody else they can see that's flying a kite. Doesn't matter who. And theirs, of course, is also vulnerable to the same. So the kite is a really one and done disposable item for the most part. Once it's launched in the air, it's fair game. So the way the kite performs itself is not as critical as the line. They want the kite only to position the line in a certain way so that they can speed the retrieval or the release of the line across an opponent's line and cut the opponent's line. The purpose of their kite is very different from the purpose of a North American fighter kite. The North American fighter kite, whether it's a buka, a rectangular shape, or whether it's a diamond shape, doesn't matter. We don't cut the line, we don't cut the kite, we don't damage anything or anybody. We don't want to. And the games we play are also non-damaging to the kite line and the kite. Even Line Touch, which is a aerial combat game that is very popular and totally the most fun of any kiting activity. But the bridles that are used on North American fighter kites typically are 3-point bridles. Now, on the traditional kites, they're 2 points. On our kites, they're 3. We have 2 connection points on the bow, equidistant from the spine. And that's a loop here that does not allow length long enough to go over the nose of the kite. Because if it would go over the nose of the kite in flight, you definitely know that's where it'd be, over the nose of the kite, and the kite would crash. The lower bridle is attached to it with a lark's head knot right here, and it's connected here on the spine, lower, again, about 2/3 of the way from the nose to the tail. So it's connected to the kite at 3 points. Now, one of the most important things I've discovered is that not only should the upper bridle line, the loop here, not reach the nose, but the total bridle should never reach the wingtip or the tail of the kite. If it will, during flight, at some point, your bridle will get tangled in your kite and the kite will crash. I've had that happen. I never expected it. It happened, and I vowed I would never have that happen again. So this is what I do. I don't know if having a bridle of this dimension is really the most optimum for the kite's performance overall. All I know is the kite performs beautifully well and well enough for me, and it gives me confidence that the bridle itself will not be tangled in the kite. So that's how a 3-point bridle is constructed. And it's true on a buka as well as on a diamond kite. On a buka, the upper bridle is connected at 2 points on the leading edge spar, here and here. And then with a lark's head knot, it's attached to the lower bridle. In this case, on mine and on all my bukas, I attach the lower bridle to the center of the spine, right here, where the cross spars of the buka and the spine meet. That's the center of the kite. I put it there because I like the kite to rotate like this when it spins. Now in a buka, unlike in a diamond kite, the location of where the connection point of the lower bridle is on the spine determines the kind of spinning the kite does when it's flying. Now, if you don't want the kite to just rotate like this, spin like a top, then move the connection point of the lower bridle down 3/4 of an inch or an inch or 2 inches. Continue to move it down and fly the kite, test it, and you will find a point where the spin is exactly what you like, that you can control, and you feel confident about flying. Once you find that, that's where you put the bridle connection point on all bukas you have from there on. That's what I do. I put my lower bridle connection on a buka right at the center because I like that kind of a spin. Simple. The kind of spin I like isn't a better spin than any other spin. It's just my preference. Just like a spin you like will be your preference. Doesn't mean yours is better than mine. It's just a different spin, and you are able to control it well. I may not be able to control your spin, and vice versa. So it's a matter of preference in the spin. And in a diamond kite, the spin is controlled more by the balance between the nose and the tail. On a buka, the balance is, they're always nose heavy, considerably nose heavy. But in a diamond kite, the balance between the nose and the tail, the closer it is to the line that goes from one wingtip to the other, the closer the balance point is to this line, the more rotational the kite will be. So it's very dependent on nose to tail balance, static balance of the kite. Now this kite balances just about 1/4 of an inch towards the nose from the wingtip line. This kite will spin not quite like this, but almost. And that's my preference. Many flyers prefer it to fly and have a different spin, and so they put their balance point farther towards the nose. Neither one is better. It's what you get used to and what you prefer, and what will give you the confidence that and the ability to predict well where the kite's going next.